Okay, it's 10 o'clock, and we will call the order the July 7th, 2022 Houston County Commission Administrative Meeting. Glad you all could be here today. We have a relatively short agenda, so won't try to keep you all here very long today. Don't have a lot of announcements today. Only thing I can think of is I want to remind everyone of the farmers market Saturday. It's been ongoing on Saturday right here behind us in the old medical, behind where the new bank is. Yeah, support our farmers. I think it's been ongoing a while, and we'll at least till the end of the month, if not longer. Yeah, buy some of those products our farmers raise. Any other announcements?
Chairman, I would like to say I got Kelly Crowell, our safety director, is going to give you some information about how to turn out for fireworks National Peanut Festival Saturday, last Saturday. So I'll share that with you.
I just heard on the radio it was $40,000 from insurance fees and vendors. So
Okay. All right, $40,000. That's good.
I think we're going to be around 10 to 12,000.
That's good. That's good. Especially, yeah, I was gonna say glad the weather participated because a lot of places it was in this rain. So glad it was. That's always a good event. Hope everyone enjoyed the 4th of July weekend, even in spite of some weather coming and going. I'm glad that was a successful event. Other announcements? Anyone? All right, then we will get right into our agenda. We don't have any presentations or awards at this meeting. So the regular agenda, the first item is a request to appoint a representative for the 2022-2023 ACCA Legislative Committee. The recommendation there is to appoint Commissioner Shute to that. He has been serving in that capacity, and every county in the state has one representative that serves on our state, our ACCA Legislative Committee. That committee meets and sets our legislative agenda every year and discusses different items and then works toward getting those items passed and working toward not allowing other items that are brought up in the legislature to pass. So recommendation there is Commissioner Shute, but there's no objection, any discussion to adding that to the agenda. Okay. By the way, Commissioner Herring is not here today. He is looking for, he's involved in the search. I don't know if you all saw the murder that occurred this morning. He's involved in the effort to find that person. Item number 2 is a request to establish county levies for new ABC license types. This is a normal and customary thing that we do, and every year that we do it, I say, I don't know why we do it. We can't change it. We can't do anything with it. Wait a minute. No, these are new licenses, right?
yes,
Oh, okay. Well, same thing. It's true. We can't change it or do anything with it, but this is a new license. The new license types here are hospitality management program license and food or beverage truck license. These are not the annual statewide licenses that we do. My bad. Any questions about this? Any objection to adding this to the agenda? All right, item number 3 is request to reject bids for the PPE building. Emily is here and can tell us what we need to know, what we need to say regarding this, Emily.
All right. Good morning. If you will recall, this was in 2021. The Alabama Department of Economic and Community Affairs received COVID funds. And the way they decided to disperse was to allocate to each county. Houston County's allocation was $400,000. And with that, when we sent the information, the county had to come up with ideas of how you were going to spend the money. It all has to be COVID related. It has to be tied to COVID. The first was the mobile unit, the purchase of the mobile unit, which that's been done. After that, that left a balance of about 114,000 that you could spend for other COVID related. And when we submitted the application or proposal to ADECA, the proposal at that time was to build a PPE storage warehouse at the Road and Bridge Department. So we did that and we took bids. We took bids June 22nd. 2 bids were received and the lowest bid was $518,858. And that was from BCS LLC in Brundage. That was the lowest bid. So you only have $114,000 in grant money. The county would have to spend, obviously, y'all would have to pay the difference, which would be over $400,000 if you wanted to do that. So that's what we're here today to discuss. If you want to reject those bids and then possibly use that $114,000 on a different project that again is related to COVID. The county has until roughly the end of this year to spend that money, the remaining $114,000.
So to go a little deeper than
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
we kind of budgeted, we felt like we could not do it for the 116, but we budgeted around $170,000. 520 was shocking to all of us. Don't think that's how we need to spend the money. So in discussions with Tyler and the Sheriff's Department and Chris, and Peter, what we would like to do is relocate the PPE building and put it alongside, attached to the Homeland Security Sheriff City building out on Ennis Road that you all know we talked about that we want to use ARPA funds to build. I think those entities I just mentioned are meeting Tuesday to discuss that along with the design engineer to figure out how to make that happen. Everybody believes, including particularly the engineer, that we can do it for way less than $500,000 if we just include it in that other building. There's some sense in it being out there. Then what we would do is take the grant money and what we tried to figure out is how we can use that to offset the general fund money that we'll now we'll have to spend on the other building. And we found that some of the HVAC units we're doing in the current sheriff's office to upgrade for probation and parole have COVID related filtration in them, so they can qualify for use of those funds. By doing that, we'll save those funds you saw in the budget request. Part of that $800,000 in that building was using that upgrade. So it'll free up those monies that we can then turn around and use some of the ARPA funds in a different way, particularly to help our volunteers. So I'm just kidding about this, but Peter and I, it's been like a shell game with this money. Is moving the ARPA funds and other funds around to make sure we use it in the best way. And so if we go ahead and do what I just think I said, it actually is going to work out better, I think. But it's what we need to do today is reject this bid. And then next admin meeting, we'll have a public hearing.
That's right.
On the amendment to the grant to get us to, and then vote to allow us to use the $116,000 on the
For the
HVAC.
other project. That's right.
I think I said all that right.
You did. And with the money, the reason we have to have the public hearing is when we amend the scope, the state requires us to have a public hearing and notify the public. So it has to be a formal amendment public hearing. So once we do that, and then the county will pass a resolution saying, yes, we would like to use the money for this instead of this, we'll get all that worked out. But anyway, then we submit that paperwork to ADECA, and then they send back an approval that yes, you can change your scope of work. And that will be the next process.
Okay, I guess my only question, Mr. Chairman, is said the money has to be spent by the end of the year or allocated?
It has to be spent.
So we don't have.
We've got a little bit of fluctuation in there, but pretty much it's got to be the end of the year, the first of 2023. That's right. Yes, it will. It'll have to be spent.
Projects, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we've got to get with Sean on that to be sure, but whatever we'll know that before we bring it to you. If that's just an issue, then we'll figure out another plan. Yes, plan, yeah, at least see. Other questions?
Well, thank you, Ms. Emily. On the specs on the building that would potentially build.
Right.
Built. The square footage of that building, and Chris may know, the volume that would come into that building, will this accommodate the PPE supplies if we do this?
If we move it,
Right.
yeah, we're just moving the same square footage.
Same square
That's just what the plan is. Again, they're gonna meet Tuesday and talk about that. But we're just taking the 4,000 square foot that we were gonna build this and adding it to the building out of adding the 4,000 square feet out.
So it will actually, the square footage will not be reduced, it would accommodate, the 4,000 would accommodate without expanding it any further, or,
No, we'll have to expand the building by
I know
4,000.
that we're kind of building, but the original specs on the building that we were looking at $500,000.
Right.
Will and all the PPE supplies, it's going to be in the.
Yeah, yeah, it'll still be 4,000
Yeah.
square feet, yeah. Hopefully, I mean, again, they're meeting Tuesday, so let's not open it up. So. Any other questions? Or any objections to adding this to the agenda? No. Sir, you got a comment?
I'll do.
Okay. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Morning, Chairman,
Morning.
Commissioners. My name is George Trotter, reside at 4218 County Road 203, Dothan, Alabama 36301. A lot of ignorance out here in the public across Houston County about, first of all, PPE, that's personal protective equipment, correct? This is
Chris can tell you after the meeting.
that
what
is
all that is.
relative to COVID, right? It looks like to me, from what I'm hearing and seeing, this is one more first degree waste of money. Now, if we've mandated by the federal government through the state in funding this down to the county, and we have to spend this on what we're spending on, my question is this: where does this PPE go? It's in a warehouse, right? Gonna be stored for another emergency, okay? So who has access to this PPE? Is it the general public? Is it the county commission? Is it just county employees? Who is it that's
Who
has access to it? Correct.
To the supplies, okay. All right, if you'll sit, I'll get Chris to come in.
Well, I got a few more
All right, go
points
ahead.
and questions. Well,
Ask your other question, then I'm gonna get you to sit down and I'll get Chris to answer them.
yeah, that's fine. But I'm thinking, and this is my last comment, I want to make a suggestion. Is that okay if I make a suggestion, or Mr. Chairman? Yes, sir. You know, we just basically handed over the farm center to the city. They're in control of it, from what I understand, and that's great. What we see about maybe leasing a building, one of those buildings out there for this PPE, and paying them the city lease on it, okay, and have access to that for less than not only $250,000 or $500,000, but less than $250,000, probably for less than $100,000.
That's where it is now, but they have other intentions for use of that property.
But they may, you know, if it's brought to their attention, they may have a little corner somewhere where they can put the quote PPE.
I don't think so. We've asked for it. They had to come forward with that. So.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to explain what the PPE building is? Thank you.
Well, we have to expand. When we say PPE, it's not just personal protective equipment. Okay, this is a bigger, much bigger. This is the strategic national stockpile. We are one of 11 counties within the state that have the regional distribution supply. Okay, so we have 10 counties within our region that we are responsible for keeping these items. And it's not just personal protective equipment, it's ventilators, vaccines, other things that I'm not going to share that would be brought in from the federal government in case of an emergency or things like that. We're responsible for the security, supply, and distribution of these things. And for the last 3 years, we pretty much run a distribution center. Not only do we have to have a warehouse available to store it with certain conditions, climate control and security and other things that the public may want to know about, but really doesn't need to know about some of the things that we're keeping in there on a strategic national level. Some of that is also for Plant Farley as well, in case of any emergencies out there and some other things. But again, we have 10 counties that we're responsible for and taking care of those. We have to keep this stuff under security, and we have a list of state and federal regulations. A lot of this also falls under the Alabama Department of Public Health, Homeland Security, and other agencies as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the explanation. Appreciate it.
That comment?
Yes, well, what Chris is saying is we don't need more than 4,000 square feet, and we don't need less than 4,000 square feet in the 10 counties.
Yeah, 4,000 is the amount that we came up with. We could actually use more, but I don't know that we can add more. I guess that meeting you two, they can talk about that. But you understand, the more we add, the more it costs, right? All right, any objection? Oh, I've already asked that. We've already said that. So, all right, item number 4, request to approve corrective replat of lots 6 and 7, block B, and lots 9 through 14, block C of the first edition to Pine Hills Estate subdivision with certain exception to subdivision regulations. Press. That sounds legal.
So in your packet, commissioners, you see a letter from the county engineer as well as a proposed replat of a portion of Pine Hills Estates. That's a subdivision out near Ashford that the first edition was platted in 1973. So this edition is almost 50 years old. When the roads were originally cut, they were cut not in the same location that is shown in the plat. The replat before you is a correct one in the sense that it simply outlines where those roads are currently existing. So we've been asked by the owners of the properties in question to replat this portion. This is not normally done. The reason why I'm here to explain this to you, the county does not normally get into the business of replats because it is a contract between all the owners in the subdivision. This is an exception to those things because the issue is from the beginning, the plat has not been true to what's on the ground. The other items and the reason why on this it has listed exceptions, the county engineer has listed for you the regulation, subdivision regulations for Houston County that are proposed to be accepted. The roads shown in this replat, correct me if I'm wrong, Barkley, but all of them are dirt. They've been dirt for 50 years. We've never seen anything other than where the roads are cut currently. That's where they are. Utilities are already there. This is a currently existing location. It's just never been developed. And so the exceptions would allow for the property as it sits right now to continue in its current state without having the person who purchased the property bring up a subdivision that wasn't even under subdivision regulations when it was made to the current standards because it doesn't fit where they're at. So the exceptions in short order would say they're not required to pave the roads. They're required to put up stop signs, if they need those things, they'd have to make sure the roads are still in working condition. If they wanted to pave them, then obviously the county would have an interest in the maintenance and how those roads are made. But as it sits here today, they're requesting the replat to be done without all the obligations that come along with it.
So it's a corrective replat, but we're making the exception to the replat because it's been in dirt all this time and not requiring them to pave it to our normal requirement.
Yes.
I got you, okay. Why was it, well, you went around and said something, so you wouldn't know that.
Why was it cut the way it was cut?
I
think the Lord only knows.
Nobody knows.